Welcome to our second lesson of project report writing. Now, in our first lesson, we looked at the introduction part and of the project report writing, and what we looked at in a nutshell is just the components that makes up a project report. And we also looked at the cover page and saw what is entailed in this in the cover page. Now today we are going to look at the preliminary pages, or the first pages that normally appear after the cover page, that may contain the declaration, the acknowledgements, dedication, the table of contents, the list of tables, the list of figures, abbreviations, and abstract. Now when we are talking about declaration, here we are trying to say that the writer or the researcher declares that the work of the research is original, has not been plagiarized, and it should now include his full or her full name, the name of the supervisor in full who guided him throughout the whole research, and the date the research is conducted. And therefore, when we are writing a declaration, we normally start by I -- or so and so solemnly declare that the project report entitled this, of course in caps or uppercase, is based on my work carried out during the course of our study under supervision of, and further to certify that it has not been presented elsewhere for the word of or any other purpose. So the declaration is normally duly signed by both the researcher and the supervisor. Now when you talk about acknowledgement, this one comes on page 2 in Roman numbers, because preliminary pages are normally paged in Roman. Like now for declaration is in Roman number 1, then for acknowledgement is Roman number 2. It's actually written to show appreciation to the persons or institutions who actually immensely contributed to your success during the research work. Those people who assisted you, maybe technically, financially, they gave you support, they gave you pieces of advice, the guidance, all that assistance that they gave, you have to acknowledge, and you can use different ways of acknowledging. So that means we not necessarily have to say thank you throughout, but we can articulate our way of giving appreciation. Just given some examples here of lines that we may use. The first one we can talk of, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to. Number 2 we have, I would like to pay special regards to. So you can have your own way of appreciating and acknowledging all those people that stood with you throughout your project work. Next we have the dedication. This one is normally on page 3 of the Roman, and it's usually a single sentence that offers the work to someone that is offered to someone that you are inspired with, or who helped you in your research, or someone you just love or cherish. So it is more personal, and when you say it is more personal, we are trying to say that no wrong, no right way to write a dedication sentence. It should be precise and straight to the point. Then we have the table of contents. Now for the table of contents here, this is just a rubric. In most cases it normally has a spacing of 1.15 and should highlight the chapter titles. Should also be in caps, that is in uppercase, should be bold, and subheadings should follow each chapter title and should be in the title case. Now I've just given out an example of a sample of table of contents here, just to illustrate how table of contents can be written. As you can see, we have table of contents, and then we have the declaration, acknowledgement, dedication, list of figures, abstract, chapter 1. And so as you can see, this is just like a preview of what you are going to work on in your project. What you've done, whole project can be summarized in a table of contents as it is seen here. Now next we are going to look at sorry for that interruption, the list of tables. That this one comes on page number 5 of the Roman. Now for page number 5 of Roman, we can have the list of tables, all the tables that are included in your report. They should be listed on page 5 of Roman on preliminary pages. Now, tables can be named or should be named as per chapters, so that if we have a table in the first chapter, we can, and maybe that table is table number 1, we can name it as table 1.1. You give the name of the table, what does it show, and the page number where we can find it in your report. We also have the second, let's say we have the second table in chapter number 3. It can be labeled as 3.2. 3 means chapter 3, and then 2 means that's the number of table and the name of the table and also the page number. Then we have, we normally say that page numbers of the tables where they appear in the document should be always indicated as you are listing them. Then we have page number 6 of our Roman, that is on our preliminary pages. This one normally shows the list of figures that you used in the whole document, such that if we have a figure number 1 in chapter, let's figure number 2 in chapter number 1, we can label it as figure 1.2, name of the figure and the page number where we can find it in our project. Then we have figure, let's say number second figure, let's say in chapter 3, should be labeled as figure 3.2, the name of the figure and then the page number where we can find it. Then we have the abbreviations, and this one is on page 7 of the Roman. And abbreviations is just a list of terminologies, maybe definition. We can have definition of terms that you think it's good to define for our reader to understand better. If you have acronyms, abbreviations of specific places, areas, this one should come under abbreviation page on page number 7. So this is just a list. Now we have this last part which we refer to as the abstract. Abstract is actually given its own page. As you can see, it is on page 8. And when you talk about an abstract, this is just a brief statement of the problem that you are studying. It normally gives out or spells out the objectives, the target population, the processing, the analysis, the key findings that you came across during your research, and the major recommendation. That means the conclusion of the whole thing. Now, we normally say that an abstract is normally just meant to give a preview of the whole document, just like we are saying it as trailer of a movie. It highlights what we are going to read. And now we normally say that an abstract should be very articulative to capture the interest and the attention of the reader, so that the reader will be motivated or will be encouraged to go deeper in the whole document to be able to see what is actually there. Now it is normally also useful in indexing, as it makes easier for the researcher to find out what they want during the literature reviews. Remember, when we are doing our researches, we normally go to an extent of finding out secondary sources, and we want to go through the researches that have been done by other people. And therefore, an abstract, if it's well put, well articulated, you will have that, you will easily capture the information that you are looking for without necessarily going through all the document to find out what you want. Now remember that abstracts are not introductions, as people may think. This is just a misconception. It is an abstract is just a summary. It's a summary of what is in the document. So abstract, we normally say they can be either informative or descriptive. When we say an abstract is informative, then it is in the sense that they show details on purpose of the study, method, the scope, the results, and the conclusion. Descriptive, this one here, normally focus more on enticing the reader, like for example, a synopsis of a book. So as you can see, these are two different abstracts. You cannot use a descriptive abstract for the purpose of informing people and maybe giving findings of the research and giving the methods and the scope you did use during the research. Instead, you will have to use what we are referring to as informative type of abstract. So we need to know the difference between the two. Like for the case of a descriptive abstract, they are normally shorter as compared to the informative abstract. They go close to around 100 words and just maybe a mere paragraph. But an informative one should not exceed, of course, 250 words. That means it should have a maximum of 1 page. Should always have a line spacing of 1.15 and with no paragraphs. So when we are writing an abstract, we normally consider sections like the beginning. It's like a body on its own. It has the beginning, it has the methods you use, the results, and the conclusions, meaning we need to have a view, a clue on what methods you used and how and why you are carrying out that particular research. We should also have to disclose to us the findings or the results that you came across during your research. You should also see how you concluded and what you are planning next. So in the start of the abstract, just provide to us the overview of the entire project. Like in 1 or 2 sentences, discuss the purpose of your paper or research paper, e.g. maybe talk of what problem it is attempting to solve and why the reader should find it important in reading or going through it. So you should also mention on the methods that you used in data collection, disclose all the instruments you used. Maybe if you did a surveying study, which methods, instruments did you use questionnaires or used interviews, all those or simulation. These ones should be mentioned actually in our abstract, because the main goal of the research paper is always to give information, and therefore always mention the results of your findings in an abstract for easier classification of your research work. And this one will also act in a big case, will cover a large section of the whole abstract. But then we normally say that an abstract should not go beyond a page, and that's why we are trying to say that keep it brief but precise, and it should communicate to us what should be entailed in our document. So far in a nutshell, we have just gone through the preliminary pages. We've just listed what are some of the components that we normally encounter, what the preliminary pages include. We have the declaration, we have the acknowledgement, it has been discussed in a comprehensive way. We have the dedication, that's the people you are dedicating your work to, people you love, you cherish, and maybe your supervisor, maybe your family members, maybe your friends. We should also have the table of contents, and this one normally spells out what we'll encounter in the whole project, then the list of the tables and the figures that you used in your project, and also the abbreviations, the definition of terms that you think we need to know. And also we have just wound up with the abstract, which is normally a brief statement of everything, and it spells out all the objectives, the target population, the analysis, the findings of and also the recommendation after your project. So thank you very much for having attended this lesson. Consider subscribing as we wait for lesson number 3, whereby we shall look at the introduction part of our project report. Have a nice time.